Hey, what's going on? Imagine it's your very first day as a network technician. Your manager walks over to your desk, places a Cisco switch right in front of you, maybe something like this one, the Cisco 3560, and says, I need this configured before everyone arrives tomorrow morning. Then he walks away. You connect your console cable, open the CLI, and all you see is a blinking cursor. Now what? Where do you even begin? That's exactly what we're going to learn today. I'm not just going to show you what to type, I'm going to explain why every command matters in the real world. Let's get started. The very first thing I always do is enter privilege mode. Think of this as unlocking administrator privileges on the switch. Right now, we can look around, but we can't actually make any changes. Once we enter privilege mode, we'll have access to the commands needed to configure this switch. Next, let's enter global configuration mode. Almost every configuration you ever performed begins right here. Hostnames, password, SSH, VLANs, interfaces. This is where we actually start building the switch. Right now, our switch is simply called switch. That might seem perfectly fine until you start working in a real company. Imagine you're managing hundreds of switches across multiple buildings. Your manager calls and says SSH into switch. Which one? That is one of the very first things network engineers do is give every switch a meaningful name. It makes identifying devices much easier and saves a lot of time when troubleshooting. Now, let's secure privilege mode. Think of this like locking the front door to your house. We don't want just anyone gaining administrative access to our switch. You'll often see older tutorials using the enable password command. I recommend using enable secret because it's much more secure. Instead of storing the password in plain text, Cisco stores it as a secure hash. Now, let's secure the console connection. Even though many network engineers manage switches remotely using SSH, the console port is still one of the most important ways to access a switch. If the network goes down or someone accidentally misconfigures the switch, the console cable may be your only way back in. First, I'll configure the console password. Then I'll enable login so the switch actually requires that password. This right here keeps system messages from interrupting me while I'm typing commands, making the CLI much easier to use. Finally, I'll configure an inactivity timer. If someone walks away without logging out, the switch will automatically close the session after 10 minutes. It's a small configuration, but another good security practice. Everything looks good so far, but I wanted to show you something. Let's look at the running configuration. Notice our console password. It is sitting there in plain text. Imagine you're working in a real company. Anyone with enough access to view the running configuration can immediately read that password. That's obviously not something we want in a production environment. So let's fix that. With one command, Cisco encrypts all passwords that would normally appear in plain text inside the running configuration. Let's check again. Now, instead of seeing the actual password, we see an encrypted value. This command isn't a replacement for enable secret. Instead, it prevents password like console password from being displayed in plain text. It's another simple but important layer of security. Next, let's configure a message of the day banner. If you've ever connected to a company network device, you've probably seen one of these before. This isn't just for decoration. Many organizations use login banners for legal reasons, clearly stating that only authorized users are allowed to access the device. It's, it's a small detail, but one you'll see in many production environments. So far, we've secured the console connection. Now let's create a local administrator account. Think about a real company for a second. Would you want every network administrator sharing the exact same password? Probably not. Instead, each administrator should have their own account. That way, access is easier to manage, and in larger environments, it's much easier to know who's logging into your device. The next command confuses a lot of beginners. People often ask me, why am I configuring a domain name? This switch isn't connected to the internet. That's actually a great question. This domain isn't for browsing websites. Cisco requires both a host name and a domain name before it can generate the encryption keys used by SSH. Think of it as giving your switch a complete identity. Earlier we configured its name. Now we're giving it a domain. Together, they allow us to create secure remote access. Now, let's generate our RSA encryption keys. Without these keys, SSH simply won't work. Think of RSA keys like the lock on your front door. The stronger the lock, the harder it is for someone to break in. When Cisco asks how many bits we want, I'm going to choose 2048. That's the standard I recommend because it provides stronger encryption than smaller key sizes. Now we're finally ready to configure SSH. One of the biggest advantages of SSH is that it allows us to securely manage our switch remotely. Imagine your company has 50 switches spread across multiple floors or even multiple buildings. Instead of physically connecting a console cable every single time, we can securely connect over the network. First, we'll configure the VTY lines. Instead of creating another password here, we're going to use the administrator account we already created. That is what the login local command does. It tells the switch to authenticate users using the local username database. Next, we allow only SSH connections. Notice I'm not enabling Telnet. Telnet sends usernames and password across the network in plain text. SSH encrypts everything before it is transmitted. That's why modern enterprise networks use SSH instead of Telnet. Now let's configure the switch management interface. For today's lab, I'm using VLAN 1 because it is the default VLAN on every Cisco switch. It keeps this beginner demonstration simple. However, if I were configuring a switch for a real company, I generally will not use VLAN 1 for management. Instead, I'll create a dedicated management VLAN, something like VLAN 99 or VLAN 100, to separate management traffic from the default VLAN and improve security. We'll cover that in a future video, but for today, VLAN 1 helps us focus on learning the fundamentals. Now, let's configure the default gateway. Before recording this video, I already configured my router interface with the IP 192.168.1.1. That router becomes the default gateway for our switch. Think of it like this. Imagine you live on a small neighborhood street. As long as you're visiting houses on your own street, everything is easy. But what if you need to travel somewhere outside your neighborhood? You first drive to the main road. That main road takes you everywhere else. The default gateway works exactly the same way. Whenever this switch needs to communicate with a device outside of its own network, it sends that traffic to the router. Without a default gateway, remote management from another network simply wouldn't work. Now comes one of the most important steps, verification. One habit I've developed over the years is that I never assume my configuration is correct. I verify it. Let's walk through everything together. First, I'll verify my enable secret password. Next, I'll verify the local administrator account. Then I'll make sure my IP domain is configured correctly. After that, I'll confirm that my message of the day banner is present. Next, I'll verify that VLAN 1 has the correct management IP address. Then I'll confirm the default gateway. And finally, I'll verify my console configuration to make sure the password, login requirements, and timeout settings are exactly the way I intended. Taking 1 minute to verify your work can save hours of troubleshooting later. Now, let's make sure everything is actually working. I'll configure an IP address on my PC. Now, let's test our connectivity. First, I'll ping the default gateway. Success. That tells me I can communicate with my router. Next, I'll ping the switch management IP address. Perfect. That tells me the management interface is reachable across the network. Everything looks exactly the way we expected. And that is it. Our switch is now configured and ready for deployment. If you found this tutorial helpful, I want to take your networking skills even further. I also create videos using real Cisco equipment where I build and configure networks outside of Packet Tracer. So if that sounds interesting, consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.